President Cyril Ramaphosa has been sworn in for a second term in office at a ceremony in Pretoria. Mr. Ramaphosa will govern the country as head of a new coalition after his party, the African National Congress, or ANC, reached a deal with its traditional rival, the Democratic Alliance, or DA. Correspondents say South Africa will now have an unprecedented government, which in itself is an unprecedented move because the two parties don't agree on many things, but have agreed to focus on the things that they agree on. Sounds curious, doesn't it? Well, in his inaugural address, Mr. Ramaphosa tried to lay out the agenda for his second term.
In the presence of everyone assembled here, and in full realization of the high calling I assume as President of the Republic of South Africa, I, Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, observe, uphold, and maintain the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly and sincerely promise that I will always promote all that will advance the Republic and oppose all that may harm it. Protect and promote the rights of all South Africans, discharge my duties with all my strength and talents to the best of my knowledge and ability, and true to the dictates of my conscience. Do justice to all and devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and all its people. So help me God.
Cyril Ramaphosa being sworn in there. Well, for his assessment, I'm joined now on the line from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania by Arise Africa analyst Mark Bichachi. He's been monitoring developments from there. Good to see you, Mark. Tell us more about the swearing-in ceremony. I understand that around 20 heads of state and government were in attendance.
Well, yes, indeed. The inauguration of the president of South Africa, that is Cyril Ramaphosa, was attended by many heads of state and testament to his good relationship with many leaders across Africa. Remember, he has been a trade unionist. He has been a businessman for many years in South Africa and has many good connections. He is quite the diplomat as far as concerned. Secondly, there was also huge crowds waving the flag of South Africa there to cheer him on. Remember that despite the ANC not attaining the 50% mark that is needed, the coalition with the Democratic Party together with Mkhonto we Sizwe, among other small parties, has put them well over 68%, and that is indeed a majority. Those who chose to stay away, the Mkhonto we Sizwe party and the EFF, are runaways from the ANC, and they're saying that this particular coalition, the ANC and the DA, is a betrayal of the independence movement. It's a betrayal of the ANC's left-leaning policies. But at the same time, President Cyril Ramaphosa made it very clear that these are the elements that are dividing his nation, and he identified the division of the nation as one of the key issues he has to deal with alongside the economy, which has been in the doldrums of recent years.
Yes, and you've sort of taken us, which I was hoping you would do, to his inaugural address. I wonder if he talked about things like unemployment and the failure of infrastructure, which is why many in the ANC supporters decided not to vote for him.
Yes, absolutely. He did talk about issues of infrastructure, bearing in mind that one of the few things that they do with the DA's infrastructure, dealing with poverty, and making sure that government programs actually work. So this remain at the center not only of his presidency, but his coalition with the Democratic Party, because if they do not agree on such things, then there are two things that are likely to happen. One is to get greater division, and he talked about this as well, between the haves and have-nots in South Africa. Remember that his coalition has already been termed as the coalition of the haves, the coalition of industry and the marketplace against ordinary South Africans. And he's also talked about infrastructure, which has been failing right down to electricity within the boundaries of South Africa, which has brought quite many issues to the government. But on the point of the division, let us remember that Inkatha Freedom Party, founded and now run by Jacob Zuma, took away 58 total MPs away from the ANC, meaning that if Jacob Zuma had stayed within the ANC, then the ANC would likely have managed to pull up at least another 10 to 14% percentage points. So the division is clear. The division, of course, is the splitting of the ANC, not just in terms of the tribal bases, as we are seeing through the Zulu vote voting for Jacob Zuma, but also through the division of class, adding to that the division of xenophobic attacks against foreign within the borders of South Africa.
And just a slight correction there, Mark. You said that Jacob Zuma was leading the Inkatha Freedom Party. He's actually leading the MK Party. I know that was just a slip of tongue. Right. So a president coming again into office with a new term, but with less power than he had before. So he's entering territory that is somewhat uncharted. I mean, how delicate a job will that be?
Well, it will be a difficult job. I know now the Democratic Party and the ANC are putting up a brave front saying that they do agree. But they can broadly agree in terms of what needs to be done, but how it will be done will be very difficult, given that many of the instruments of power have been under the ANC for a long time. It is going to be a balancing act for the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, to actually convince the DP to actually go along with these policies. Now, his policy statement is expected to be released in coming days, but that policy statement has to have input from his allies. And what is going to happen is, given the structure of the parliament in South Africa, which is not, South Africans do not vote in their parliamentarians directly. Instead, they vote for the party through a party representative system. So he will need the support of the entirety of the DA to be able to have DA MPs vote with him. And the DA, the Democratic Party, is going to be so important in how he is moving forward, because it is going to be the largest partner in this particular bloc. None of the other parties put together can actually get a vote beyond 50%.
And we've got about a minute or so left, Mark. Obviously now a new cabinet will have to be sworn in, which will include members of the Democratic Alliance and the Inkatha Freedom Party, who are part of that governing coalition. Do we know who gets what ministerial position, briefly?
Well, the talk is about different positions, starting with the speaker position, which came out pretty fast. We can see that ministries such as energy, the Ministry of Finance, and other ministries are being divided. The powerful ministries are being divided, where the ANC is set to have many of the more powerful ministries, but giving 2 or 3 of them over to the DA, and probably 1 or 2 to the other smaller parties. Now, the issue here really is that these parliamentarians at the same time need to show that they have prowess, and they need to show that the DA, as it goes into this particular arrangement with the ANC, actually has sizable say within the executive. Now, we do not have anything fully confirmed yet, but the positions to watch are going to be the Ministry of Finance infrastructure and the Ministry of Energy. That's going to be very important. Then it's going to spread over to mining. That is also going to be very important, given that the ANC traditionally has held on to the mining industry as one of its key bases, remembering that Cyril Ramaphosa was once an organizer and a civil rights activist among the mining community. So we're waiting to see whether actually this particular ministry may be given to the DA or not. But those are the balances that Cyril Ramaphosa has to do, especially since it seems like he's walking away from his left-leaning policies, which were pro-workers, pro-miners, pro the smaller part in South Africa, and we are seeing him get into partnership with a market-focused DA. So it's going to be quite interesting.
Mark, thanks very much indeed, and do enjoy Dar es Salaam. I've been there before. Lovely city, bisected by the ocean. Mark Bichachi is our Arise Africa correspondent. He was talking to me there from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania.